The core of my message is just to encourage you and share from my own experience the need for you to focus on engaging and building credible networks and not just to focus on academics. If you truly want to. I've heard the saying, failure is not final. Have you heard that saying before? It is true. Failure is not final, except you accept it as final. I'm living proof of that truth. I have failed several times in my life, in business, in relationships, in academics particularly. My first attempts was was an F9. And then my father, believing that I was probably smart, because that was in Federal Government College, Lagos City and Nikki, were in the second set, we fed us ice creams. Also, we had air-conditioned rooms and all of that. Felt that was actually why I failed. So he brought me to Ilorin Grammar School to retake my WAEC. At that time, the Ilorin Grammar School didn't even have a fence. So we cut grass, we washed toilets, I had very tough teachers. But guess what? The best I could get away with was to let my people go kind of WAEC. So I failed again. And I failed Jan second time. So I couldn't get into university. So they shipped me to Param Polytechnic for a 2-year A-levels program. At the end of the 2 years, still wasn't good enough to enter university. And I failed Jan again the third time. But at that time, to enter university, there was what was called IJMB. You go for a full-year program, after which then you can then start the first year of university, which is what I did. And after 3 years in University of Ilorin, I still graduated with a third class. They didn't give me third class. That was what I was good for in my best efforts. So I'm living proof that academic superiority is the B from the path to success. It's really enough. Well, I acknowledge the significance of academics and we need to get good truths. Some of us are just not cut out for academics. Probably due to some undetected learning disabilities when we were young, as was probably my own issue. Or we just didn't have the grades for academics. And that is okay. It's okay to get no. Yeah. I'm looking for that fact. Academic field or anything does not define. Here's what defines your mindset, your network, people you hang out with, and your ability to leverage credible relationships. That is what defines. Let me ask you another question. Do you believe someone can really set themselves up for success? What do you think? I said few of us got in my out. Yes, it's true. You can set yourself up for success. And I'll show you how from my own experience. In my 300 level at University of Ilorin, if I mentioned the yes, most of you were probably not around. This was in 1986. University of Ilorin. In those days, summer holidays were like 5 months. So most of us had holiday trips. So I wanted to do some work on 5 months holiday. And my mother then said me to Prince Samuel Adedoyi, who at that time owned the global soap-sided factory. When I saw Prince Samuel Adedoyi, he gave me a look in a suit envelope for the AD of the factory. And of course, I went there excited. Uncle has given me a note today. But he only did. The AD called someone to his office, said this young man is from China. is here for a holiday job here with us. I found that they had just deployed me to go and work with a section that were constructing some silos and warehouses at the factory. When I say constructed, I was deployed from a hot day job to carry headpans, to mix concrete. And I noted to myself, this is a 3-month very playful economics student on the industry. In fact, my father drops me for the holiday job the month. I was looking clean. Shirt and towel. Of course, I removed my shoes, folded my trousers, and I removed my shirt and just like the vest on it to trap the leg as much as possible with the laborers. And for me, it was just amusing because I knew I was there temporary. This is not who I am. So I just was like, yeah, next up. But by the third day, I told my father not to bother to drop me at work. That we had a vehicle that picks the workers. Now, he told my mother or my father the job I was assigned to. I just kept it to myself. And by the third day, I began to join the trucks. They have open trucks that pick laborers. And I just was joining that for the month. I became good friends with the neighbors. So sort of my richest speculative where or scratching bush rats and eating during lunch breaks. It was just fun to me. It was like an adventure. And that's what I did for about a month. Then after a month, the AD called me to his office and said I had been redeployed to the store to be assistant storekeeper for the really part of my summer holidays. And that was, I had graduated a year after in the economics. Remember with my third class, remember that? I was lucky to start in the bank. But by the time I was done with my service, I did his own bank, industrial bank. And that was the beginning of me working in 4 other banks. I didn't sit for an interview in any of them. So obviously, when the man sent that note for me to be assigned a laborer's job, he was testing me, and I passed the test. And that was the beginning of a 19-year career in the banking industry. By the end of my 4th year at Industrial Bank, my phone rang one day at the bank I was working in, and the person on the other line says he'd like to see me for an interview for a job in his bank. And I said, I'm sorry, sir. I'm happy and comfortable where I am. And he said, do you know who is speaking? He mentioned his name a second time. I didn't know who he was at that time. I said, I'm sorry, sir. I'm actually busy now. Can we talk some other time? He laughed again. It's okay. When would I be available? And I gave him a time for about a week after. And a week after, I went to see him. And as I walked into his office, he was trying to recruit me to run his export desk, because my first 4 years were in export finance in the bank industry. And he looked at me and smiled and said, no wonder. You look so clean. You know what? We're creating a new unit called relationship management to service our high net worth individuals. You look like you'll do better in that space. I'm talking about Otuba Mike Adenuga. I didn't know who he was. And he was so intrigued that who is this bloody young man that I'm telling to come and see me, and says he's busy and is given a time of next week. I worked with him for about 4 years. Again, I was managing Obakram Allen Avenue branch of Equatorial Trust Bank, which is owned by Mike Adenuga. And one day, one young man came to my office, and my secretary said, he's the manager of Obakram branch of UBA. When he walked into my office, he introduced himself and said, there's been a fraud in his bank, UBA Obakram. And the money was traced to have been deposited in my branch. Now, if you understand how banking is, money in your bank is good for your appraiser. So you usually don't want that money to leave, whether it was stolen money or not. But I cooperated with him and would help set up a trap for the thief. So when the thief came in to withdraw, policemen were there and the culprit was arrested. And that was it. 2 years later, this same young man called me that a few people had bought the weak dying New Nigeria Bank and renamed it NNB International Bank. And he was going there as an assistant general manager next to the MD. And he would like me to come and work with him there. So again, like I said, I never wrote any interviews in all the banks I worked to. And I agreed to go with him. 6 months after, the owners of the new bank had a fallout with their MD and asked their MD to go and told my new friend, who was second to the MD, to act as MD. 6 months after, they confirmed him as MD. And that was the beginning of another significant boost in my career and my life. The individual is Alex Oko. He's the immediate former DG of BPE. He's from Agbo. I'm from Iludu in Kwara State. We grew up to be practically families. Our children went to the same schools and all of that. So today, I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm a life and business coach of the Maxwell leadership team. I'm an author with 8 published books. I mentor quite a lot of credible people all over the place. My background, my education, my origin did not project any of these outcomes. This has been the result of network. So I say to you, who you know is a lot more important than what you know. Rewind that. Who you know is a lot more important than what you know. Who you know is a lot more important than what you know. So while it's okay to get great grades, and you should pursue that, but some of us are just not cut out for that. Then from my 39-year journey, I find out I employ all the first class. I don't need to have first class. I create the business and employ the first class. So which really is more important? And we confuse academics with education. Academics is that certificate. Real education happens with what you do with the knowledge you get with the certificate. And if you check around you, there are many people like me who are either third class or didn't even go to school at all. They create the wealth and the value. And what they leverage on is credible relationships. It's who they know, not what they know. So here's how to build that kind of network. 10 quick steps. Number 1, stop networking. Start relationship building. You need to learn to give before asking. Credible connections are not built, they are earned. 2, learn the language of power. Learn to speak in solutions. When you speak in solutions, people want you on their side. And they open doors for you. Avoid talking too much. Exude confidence instead. Confidence is currency. 3, your appearance matters. Details are noticed. Be clean and minimal. Style doesn't scream. Style signals. Attractive people benefit from what is called the halo effect. They're just perceived to be more trustworthy, credible, and people want to work with them just by looking good. Guess what? Unattractive people also suffer from what is called the horn effect. People just assume this one can't be trusted because they're unattractive. And it's not so much about your physical looks. It's about finding your style, not necessarily what is trending, what looks good on you and how you present yourself. 4, show up at the right events, at the right places and forums. You can't connect if you are not present. This event was advertised severally over and over again. We still have empty chairs in the room. You can't connect if you're not present. So don't show up at every event, but show up at the right events. 5, offer your skills, not your need. Be useful, solve problems. Service open doors money can't buy. 6, connect with people. Connect people. Introduce people to themselves. Not for any peculiar benefit to yourself. Just connect people. Guess what? You will benefit from that process and be recognized as somebody who connects people selflessly. 7, stay humble but never small. Don't brag. Let your results speak. Don't brag. 8, stop seeing failure as final. That's the essence of my talk today. Quoting James Watkins, a river cuts through rock, not because of its power, but because of its persistence. If you do anything consistently, you gain mastery. Then you get noticed. 9, surround yourself with people that are better than or ahead of you. We are limited by what we know. What we know is influenced by what we read, listen to, or watch, especially from people we hang out with. And that takes me to 10. Be intentional with who you hang out with. John Maxwell calls it we are the average of the 5 people we hang out with most. So if you're with people who are going nowhere, it's not about the country, it's not about the leadership, it's about the environments you spend your time with. Thank you very much.